This is Russ Andersson with a tutorial on how to diagnose problems with exports to other applications. So here we have a just very simple solve of a example shot. And let's suppose we've exported it to a downstream application such as 3ds Max or Maya or After Effects. And we discover that the 3D tracker locations aren't lining up with the corresponding locations in the actual images. So in our application, we might see something, that looks like this, where we have just the marks themselves. And if they're wrong, we'd like to find out why that is and what to do about it. So here I'm just going to be using SynthEyes to show some of the things that go wrong and what to look for. So first off, let's suppose that there's been a change in the aspect ratio. And here we're going to take our 4:3 shot and turn it into a 16:9 shot, which is a kind of large change, obviously, but it'll show more what's going on. So we might see something like this now in our downstream application, where things aren't really lining up at all with the corresponding features. And you have just things hanging around, and they're off in this strange way. But if you look carefully at what's going on, at individual trackers and where their features are, you'll see that there's a pattern. And what I'm going to do here to make that more obvious is just turn back on the actual 2D locations, which are still correct in SynthEyes, so you can see what that pattern is like. So here's the feature and the 3D position. On the other side, feature and 3D position. Feature, 3D position. In the middle, there's a very small error. So when you have this aspect ratio, there's a very systematic pattern in what these errors are like. And once you see that, you can recognize that it's an aspect ratio problem. Obviously, the aspect ratio is changed the other way. You'll see a horizontal shift. Obviously, this is a really big change, but you can often see very small changes that are like 1.33 versus 1.333, or pixel aspect ratios of 0.88 versus 0.89 versus 0.9. They correspond to different combinations of 720 by 480 or 720 by 486 and things. And these can cause just a little bit of errors that make you scratch your head until you realize that's what's going on when you see a particular pattern like this. So now we're back to our original solution again. And now I'm going to go and take the images and replace them with the same sequence, but starting one frame in. And now you get this sort of pattern where things don't line up, and this is what you'd see. Things aren't really quite lining up. It looks like something's gone drastically wrong. Things are bouncing around. Oh no, the solve didn't work at all. But that's not really what's happened. Now, if you go and you take a look at one of these trackers in some detail, let's suppose I put the mouse here on that position of that tracker. Well, if I just use the left and right keys on the keyboard, you'll see in the previous frame that position of the tracker was exactly where the feature was. I can go and kind of chase the tail around, and you can see, it's the right location, but just for the wrong frame. And of course, if you have the frame shifted the other way, then the pattern will be running the other way. So, this is one way to go and look. Just put the cursor at the location of some feature, then just step a few frames in either direction and say, oh, is this lining up? And if you repeat this process a couple times and you discover, oh, each time I go one frame forward, everything magically lines up. That's a clue that you're off by a frame. Similarly, it's often worthwhile to take a look at the outer edges of the image and look for things that are just coming on and off the frame. If I look out here, here's a little spot, and right at that point there, it goes off the edge of the frame, the spot right here. So I can go and take this frame number and I repeat this process in both of the applications and see if it's happening on the same frame. And sometimes you might even find, if you're, inadvertently switched to a cropped version of the images or images that have been tweaked a little bit, you can discover that, maybe things aren't quite what you think at all. So, looking at the edges of the images really carefully is a good way to verify, that you've got really the same images in both applications, and one way or another haven't had the footage change out from underneath. So that, I think, is kind of the top sort of reasons for exporters to get into trouble. Sometimes it might be a problem with an export where some piece of information can't always be transmitted exactly. Sometimes users will go and change things, or shots will get changed out on the server without anyone happening to mention. So that sort of thing happens all the time. These are some things to look for. Hope that helps you solve any problems that do occur. Thanks.